Welcome to Archives of the Sixties, where in each episode we visit a different library or collection of materials that researchers or historians of that period would find invaluable. Today we are visiting the San Francisco Public Library to view a jewel of a collection devoted to the 60s in San Francisco. Even though this new main branch opened in 1996, many visitors are unaware of the special collections room located on the top floor. We'll head up to the 6th floor to view the Hippies collection. You'll find the San Francisco History Center and special collections tucked away in the far corner. Maybe that's why so few patrons are aware of this department. In the old main library, the San Francisco History Room was hard to locate, and it always seemed to me to resemble an attic, which, if you think about it, is appropriate for a special collections room. By the way, be sure to check out the library's webpage for the hours that the San Francisco History Center is open. They differ somewhat from the library's hours as a whole. Currently, the room is closed on Mondays. The webpage is sfpl.org. I'll list this reference again at the end of the episode. When you enter the San Francisco History Center, you'll be presented with a very comfortable reading room. Each of the long patron tables has convenient lighting with switches at either end, and the shelves are open for browsing and contain an enormous variety of rare books, pamphlets, and other types of materials, all related to San Francisco history. The first place to stop when you arrive in the San Francisco History Center is the reference desk. Here you need to sign in to the guest register, and you will need to fill out a request slip for the materials you want to call up. Today we are requesting the Hippies collection, which is its official title. A couple other points to note. You cannot use pens while in the room. This is standard practice in special collection libraries. You can borrow a pencil from the reference desk if you need to do any writing. After your materials have been called up, the librarian will bring them to your seat. Here we see the first box of the Hippies collection, along with a special tool called the finding aid. Every collection has a finding aid, which is a description of the contents of the cartons. Usually, for a small collection of 1 to several cartons, the finding aid will list the title of each folder inside each carton. For larger collections, the finding aid may just give a general description of each carton. The finding aid for the Hippies collection groups the items by type of material. First, correspondence is listed, then ephemera, then periodicals, and other materials. Here's another thing to note. Each folder inside the carton is made of acid-free material, and the markings on each folder are in pencil. Nothing is written in ink in order to prevent the migration of acidity into the paper. Acid kills, at least in archives. That's not to say anything about the acid that we experienced in the 60s. When handling the folders in each archival box, it's important to remove only one folder at a time. It's also very important to keep the individual sheets or items in the order that you find them within each folder. This first folder is very interesting. It's titled Correspondence, Jerry Rubin to Alan Cohen, 1968. The first letter is from Jerry Rubin to Alan Cohen. Alan Cohen was one of the founders and editors of the San Francisco Oracle. The Oracle started publication in 1966 and lasted variously until 1969. The Oracle was the face of the Haight-Ashbury hippie community. At its height, it was sold in underground shops all across the country, and many young denizens of the Haight lived off the proceeds they made selling the Oracle on street corners. Jerry Rubin was, at this time, a dropout from UC Berkeley who had organized anti-Vietnam War protests in the Bay Area. This letter from Rubin tells of plans of a new group he has helped found called the Yippies. The group is planning a youth festival in August 1968 in Chicago to coincide with the Democratic nominating convention. Well, this is a most remarkable document. The event that Rubin and the Yippies are planning ended up being one of the turning points in the history of the 60s. The youth festival, a demonstration against the war, and the subsequent police riot in the streets of Chicago caused the rupture in the Democratic Party, which was not really healed until 2008 with Barack Obama. In fact, I thought it was such a closing the circle moment when Obama made his election night acceptance speech in Grant Park on Chicago's shoreline on November 4th, 2008. Grant Park was where the Yippies held the youth festival 40 years earlier in 1968. Here we also see the original planning document for the youth festival that Rubin included in his letter to Cohen. One thing to note is this was obviously mimeographed. There were no Xerox copiers readily accessible to the New Left at this time. Let's read one or two sentences from this manifesto. Reading from Yippies and the Youth Festival by Jerry Rubin. 1968 is the year of the Yippies. A Yippie is anyone who wants to be. A Yippie sounds like the name. Say it loud, and you'll see what I mean. Yippee! Yippee! The Yippie will be in Chicago this August for the Youth Festival. The Yippies were born at the Pentagon last October, although they have been developing in the womb of Mother America since the late 1950s. The Yippies are the children of the middle class, children who refuse to grow up, refuse to accept the world their parents created. The Yippies have had white middle-class America, and they didn't like it. By the way, it's interesting to note that when Rubin wrote this manifesto, he spelled the word Yippie Y-I-P-P-E-E, rather than the spelling that we have all come to know, which is Y-I-P-P-I-E. I'm not sure whether that's a reflection of his spelling or whether that was the usage at the time. Historians always are looking for document authenticity and clues as to dating. Fortunately, the librarian who accessioned this collection kept the original envelope that Rubin used, and here we can clearly see some of the contextual information, such as the addresses for Cohen and where Rubin was staying at the time. But we can also see the postmark on the envelope, which confirms that the letter's dating was February 14th, 1968. When you are done with one of the folders in a special collection carton, it's important to replace it in the exact order that it was located. Some archives will give you a separate divider to place in the carton to mark the location of the folder that you've removed. If you have a sheet of paper, you can improvise, but make sure you keep all the folders in order and the contents of each folder likewise. Here we have the carton and its finding aid ready for pickup by the library staff, who will return them to the storage area that is off limits to the public. At the reference desk, you will retrieve your ID that was used when you requested materials to view. The librarians in the San Francisco History Center are very knowledgeable. You may want to ask them about other 60s materials they have. These include the San Francisco Oracle collection, a complete set of the Oracle newspaper. They also have recently acquired a nearly complete run of the underground communal newspaper Cauliflower, which has been deposited in only one other library as far as I know. Both of these collections are listed in the online card catalog. Speaking of which, here are some useful links for the viewer who may be interested in following up on this episode. So until next time, goodbye and good collecting.